Hello, my name is Eric Thompson, and today we are going to look at currency swaps. To better understand the concept, we can look at what a currency swap is by definition, the unique properties it carries, the basic intent. We'll follow it up by looking at a specific illustration. To begin, we can look at the definition of a currency swap. A currency swap is an agreement to exchange principal and fixed interest in one currency for principal and fixed interest in another currency. Effectively, you have two multinationals having a need to finance using debt using respective currencies. A currency swap is a long-term financing hedging technique. It helps manage both interest and exchange rate risk. A currency swap gives the parties to contract the right to offset any non-payment of principal or interest with a comparative non-payment. If one party defaults, the other one has some protection. Next, we look at some unique properties. A currency swap can be viewed as a series of four contracts. In a sense, a party agrees to pay a certain amount in the future in respect to interest and to principal. A currency swap is not a loan, and therefore does not change the liability structure of the parties' balance sheets. This also comes into play when looking at the capital structure of a firm. And unlike interest rate swaps, there is an exchange of principal. One last unique property is the initial value of the contract is usually zero. Next, we'll look at a specific example of a currency swap. Here we have the initial phase. We have first a US firm and a French firm. Both firms have subsidiaries in respective countries. The French firm has a subsidiary in the US. The US firm has a subsidiary in France. Both parent firms needed to finance using debt the subsidiaries. And in order to hedge exchange rate risk and to utilize comparative advantage, they can better borrow in their home countries and come to an agreement in exchange with their counterparts. To begin, the French firm subsidiary needs $20 million in the US. And the subsidiary in France belonging to the parent firm in the US needs 30 million euros. So according to the agreement, the U.S. firm borrows $20 million at 10% interest rate at the U.S. bank. They are able to get a lower interest rate in their home bank in comparison to overseas because here they have credit built up and a reputation. Likewise, the French firm borrows 30 million euros from a French bank at 12.8 million. And you can see using the blue line the flow of the 30 million euros flowing from the French firm to its counterpart, the U.S., and the U.S. flows it to the subsidiary they have in France. Throughout the agreement, there will be interest payments. To illustrate this, we can see it begins with the subsidiary in France. The 3.84 million is the interest payment on their initial loan. Using the blue line, you can see the flow of cash flowing to the parent company, then to the counterpart, and ultimately ending up in the French bank. Likewise, the red illustrates the subsidiary in the U.S. flowing the $2 million interest to the French firm, then to the counterpart, and then ultimately ending up at the U.S. bank. Quite often there will be a financial intermediary in the middle of the counterparts of the two parent firms. The final phase of a currency swap is characterized with the exchange of principal. It begins at the subsidiary level again. You can see in the blue line representing the 30 million euros begins with the subsidiary in France flowing to its parent firm, the US. The 30 million then flows to the counterpart, the French firm, and ultimately ends up paying off the French bank loan. Likewise, the subsidiary in the US flows the $20 million to the French firm, the parent firm, which then in turn goes to the counterpart and ultimately ends up closing out the deal at the US bank. This concludes the agreement of the currency swap. So in conclusion, two key points is the first one, a currency swap is a way to hedge exchange rate risk. The second one, companies can achieve a comparative advantage by borrowing in their own country. So both countries are better off in the agreement. I'd like to thank you for your attention and hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.